Hello everyone, welcome back to the Crossroads. John here. This is the secret place where we meet each week to talk about the secrets of the blues. This week we're going to be talking about playing what you hear in your head when you're soloing, and we're going to be learning that piece I just played through. And I always think it's a good idea to play what you hear in your head rather than let your fingers guide you. One reason is because I think you'll always be satisfied with what you play, because it's come from here, and really that's all you've got, really, isn't it? In the end, is once you've got some technique down and a bit of theory, you know, it's all about what are you going to do with it, and do you have anything to say? So obviously this solo, I'm teaching you what I was thinking, but I try and help you out along the way. So first of all, we're going to start. This is how I started this solo. What I did here was I started on the 5 chord. Now we're playing a blues in C here, all right? And the 5 chord, the chords we need are C, F is the 4, G is the 5, okay? Now, what sometimes we can do in blues is start on the 5. There's the shape there for the 5. But all I did there was I changed, here's your G, I put the D on the top. If you don't have a whammy bar, you can kind of wiggle the bridge. And then I played a C7 chord, and what I did here was instead of playing it like that, I did a Hendrix thing where you wrap your thumb around the 8th fret, and this first finger is barring down the 8th fret. Then I hammer on to the 9th. That gives you that kind of major to minor sound you hear a lot. So if you do that, sounds good. Okay, so that's like their little intro that I played. Now, what we're doing, or what I'm trying to do over the first chord is I'm playing the chord and I'm trying to listen in my head of what I hear. Now, in this particular instance, I heard, so that's what I heard. Now we've got to try and work that out on the guitar, all right? Now, how would you do that? Well, this comes from a little bit of everything. This comes from your experience of kind of listening to a lot of blues, and if you've listened to a lot, you'll kind of, maybe you'll hear some phrases, you know. The second thing is, of course, we know what key we're in, and this is going to all help us. So we're in key of C, so we know we can use C minor pentatonic. That's great. And hopefully if you also know where your C's are, that helps you too, because if you think of something, I know that note is going to be right because it's a C note, you know. So if you get stuck and you think, oh, I'm not too sure what to do, even if you see, I finished on the C note and it will sound good. Likewise, if I went to the F chord, see, I finished on an F note there. So if you know your notes, that really helps. It's a big part of this. Anyway, so I'm curling this 8th fret. That's the minor third going to the major third there. And then I'm playing 10, which is the C note on the D string. And then I play that minor third again on the 8th fret of the G. This is the 7th, the 8 on the D, and then back to the root again, and then to finish off, we could finish there. You could do that, couldn't you? That would sound all right. But what I did at the end, and this is very bluesy, it's a little curl where you take that minor to the major note, and that's what really the blues is all about, where you're mixing major and minor. So we have. Now, the next chord is kind of going to this F chord, and the lick I played was. Okay, so what did I do that? So I'm thinking still pentatonic here, really in C. So the notes are. So I'm bending that 10th fret up. Just a quarter note, really. I release down to the F note. And then that minor third again, the 8th fret on the G, back to the C. And then I do that curl again. That sounds bluesy, doesn't it? So if I put those two phrases together for you, you'd have this. And also, you know, with the blues, try and play at different levels. I didn't really do that there, did I? What I mean by that is, you know, make some notes louder, dig in a bit, maybe a bit softer next time. Okay, this was the next phrase I played. Now, we've gone so far from the C to the F. Now I'm going back to the C again. And this little lick here, this is a kind of classic cliche lick. They're cliches, but they're cliche for a reason, because they're great. So I'm starting on the C note, and then that E note again, 8 on the B, 8 on the high E. You can slide into that 9th if you want. And then I slide from 10 to 11 here on the B. Now, why am I doing this? This is an arpeggio, really. This is the C7 arpeggio. 8 on the low E, 7 on the A, 10 on the A, 8 here on the D, 10 on the D, 9 on the G, 8, 11, and that's the C note at the top. So this note we finish on here isn't a C. It's a B flat. That's a weird note, isn't it? Why am I finishing on a B flat? Well, here's your C. If you go back, that gives you the 7th of the chord. So in this case, we're playing C7. I don't know if you can see, but that note is also a B flat. This is an octave up. So that gives the sound of the chord. So that can sound pretty good. So the phrases are kind of, you know, you can hum them hopefully, and that's what I did in my mind as I'm coming up with this. So that's what I hear. You might hear something different. Okay, let's move on to the next phrase. Now, the chord is going back to the F chord now. So I play this phrase. So what I'm thinking about here, let me show you the notes first and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. So it's 8, 10 on the G, 8 on the B, 10 on the G again. Then I'm sliding into the 10th fret and I finish on this note, the C note on the 8th fret. So so far we've got. Okay, so once you finish on 8, you're going 8 to 10 on the high E, and then a quick slide from 9 back to 8 on the B. And then I'm finishing 2 times on this note on the 10, which is the F note. And then I do this. This is, you hear this a lot in blues. Okay, now, what am I thinking here? Well, again, the main thing is you don't have to think theory, because what I was doing when I was playing that is what I was thinking. So if you don't know any theory, it doesn't matter, but you can use the theory to help you deliver what you hear in your head, you know. So what I'm thinking here is, you remember last time we played the C7 arpeggio. Now I'm thinking of the F arpeggio. So that's 8 on the A, 7 on the D, 10 on the D, 8 on the G, 10 on the G, 10 on the B, and then 8 here on the high E. So you can add that note there as well. That's the 7th, that 11th fret of the high E. So when I played this, so can you see that's those 2 notes are in the arpeggio. That note is the 9th. That can sound quite jazzy. There's the F. That's the 9th. It's going to the root. That's the 3rd. What about this one? This is a good trick. That one, we're kind of going up here to the note above the 9th. You could say the sharp 9, but it doesn't really matter. But you're going back to the 9th, and that sounds great. And that note there is commonly used in the blues. That's the 6th note from F. If I play the F major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Isn't in the arpeggio, that note, but it sounds quite good if you can use that. So sounds really bluesy. That. Okay, let's have a look at the next lick. So now I'm playing this. This is 10 on the G, 10 on the D, 7 on the G, and then 8 here on the G. So the next phrase I play is this. Now, what I'm doing here is the same as we kind of did before, same idea. So on the F, don't know if you can hear, but this phrase is the same one. So I've taken the same idea down to C. Da, 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 da. So that move there is the same as, that's in F and in C, so it's the same thing. So, you know, you tend to sing repetitive things. You know, we like to hear repetition in music, don't we? So don't feel bad. So if you were thinking of maybe theory, you think, oh, I don't want to do that because it is the same thing and I should do something differently. But, you know, it sounds quite, you know, nice if you sing it, but technically you might think, oh, I should do something more as a guitar player, but you don't have to. So this is 7 on the G, 10 on the D. You do that 2 times. Slide in from 8 to 9 on the G. 8 on the B. 8 to 10 on the B. And then you're sliding back from 8 to 7. 2 strikes on that C note, on the 10 on the D. And then finish On this note, that's the 6 again, so in F. That was the 6 there. In G, oh sorry, in C. There we go, we've got the A note. So that's not in the arpeggio, that note, but it is the 6 if you play the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the C major scale is an A. So that's a good one to finish. So. Okay, now we've come to the turnaround section, which is G to F, back to the C, and what I thought here, over here, okay, now starting on the 10th fret, 8 on the D, 10 on the D, slide up to 12, finish here on this note, 10 on the G. This is the 7th note of the G, the F. Then I do this. So this is a little slide where we're sliding from 10 on the D up to 11, back to 10, pull off to 8. Back to 8 again. So far we've got this. Okay, now here I bent this note, the 8 on the G, and back to the G there. So what am I using here? I'm using a bit of the minor, arpeggio, and then that note is bending to that note, which is a B, which is the 3rd of G. So you're mixing again back to, you know, major and minor, which sounds really good, sounds really bluesy. But I wasn't really thinking that. I was thinking so this phrase here, so this is 10, 11, 12 on the A, 10 on D, 12 on the D, 12 on the A. And then 13 on the D, back to the A note here on 12 on the A string. Then I did that thing again, finishing on the 6th. The A note here. So that's a good idea. Alright, then I finish on this note. I should explain where this is coming from. Let me just go back a little bit. This is coming really from the major pentatonic in F, but I'm starting on this F. But what I did on that lick, I started on the 2nd note of the scale, which you can think of as the 9th. All right, so that's why I went to the F. That's all from the F major pentatonic scale there. Yeah, okay. That note is there's an F. If you go back 2, that's the 7th. So that's why I played that note. That's the 7th of the F chord. All right. So far we've got this. Then I finish with this because we're back to C. So because we're back on C, I did that little curl again. 10 on the A string here, 10 on the D. That is the G, and that's the 5 chord. The 5 likes to go back to the 1, so you could either go or. So So that's a little trick as well. Then I finished just the solo with this is a cliche lick again, but you hear it in your head. So this is put your first finger on the 8th fret of the high E, 11 on the B. So 11, 8, 11, 10, 8, 10, 9, 8, 9, and then finish with those two together, 8 on the B, 8 on the high E. And then I'm finishing on the 9th chord here. This is a chord you see a lot substituted for this, or this, which is the same chord. So this is 8 on the A, 9 on the D, 8 here on the G, 9 on the B, and then you just move it back 1 fret. You can finish it like that. So you can learn that solo, obviously, but the main thing you want to take away from this is when you're playing your blues, see if you can hum something first. All right, so da, dun, da. Or something like that, you know. That wasn't exactly right, was it? There we go. And then when you've got that, you can kind of play with it a little bit. Maybe you'll bend a note, add some vibrato, so you can see what you come up with, but you'll always be more satisfied, trust me, if you play what you hear in your head. And if you don't hear anything in your head, that's all right, just listen to a lot of blues music, and you'll get to hear the kind of phrases that they use, or your favourite players, you know. So give that a go. So I'm going to play that whole solo through for you now, but with a slightly different sound than I did at the beginning. I'm going to do it with a kind of edge of breakup sound I'm using for, by the way, for this sound here, I'm using a Princeton reverb with a lot of reverb. And this next one I'm going to do, this was with a Fender bass breaker. I'm kind of on the edge of breakup. I like these amps, they sound really good. So, hope that was useful. Thanks for joining me at the Crossroads. Good to see you, and I'll see you next week at the Crossroads. Bring all your friends if you want some secret meetings with them too. Okay, see you later.